Welcome back to BaldHeaded Metal, guys. My name is Joseph. Today we're going to do another recommendations video, and this time around it's going to be for a thrash metal band by the name of Vektor, which comes out of Arizona back in the early 2000s. It's part of that new wave of thrash metal that was going around in the early 2000s into the mid 2000s with bands like Violator, Warbringer, Power Trip, Havoc, among many other bands. But today we're going to be talking about Vektor, particularly the album Idle Isolation, which is their second album that came out in 2011. It's formed by this guy by the name of David DeSanto, the frontman and guitarist of the band, which they were actually formerly known in 2002 as Locrian. It's a different kind of band. But Vektor in general is a blackened thrash metal band that has very strong science fiction influences in its lyrics and its artwork for their cover art. And I've always instantly loved this band because I like the more extreme side of metal, thrash metal, death metal, black metal, whatever it may be. And I love the blending of black and thrash metal together. And they've really write these nice, really complex songs where they display either speed, technicality, just really interesting riffs. They have every song and album Out of Isolation sounds extremely different, and they have for example, they have this really epic song called Cosmic Cortex, which is over 10 minutes, and it's like it just goes to different places, or Echoless Chamber, or Tetrastructural Minds. It just has a lot of interesting elements in all their songs, but I believe a lot of people either never found them, didn't pay attention to them, or put them on the backboard because the vocals tend to be a little bit extreme. They're not for everybody. I even mentioned on this channel that, for example, they're not some of my favorite vocalists that I've ever heard because he has almost like a screeching sound to his voice, but he has like a blackened screeching sound, which is very unique for what it does. So if you're into those kind of extreme vocals and extreme type of metal, it might be right up your alley. For me, the only negative I would ever say about this band is the vocals. For me personally, that's the kind of the weakest section because it's hard to get into his voice. Even with time, I've gotten accustomed to it, and in some songs I even like it, but for the most part, if I had to point a finger, that would be the weakness. But the songwriting, the types of songs, the structure of the songs, the solos is absolutely fantastic, if not always easily accessible. They're definitely not an accessible band because people like Warbringer and Havoc were getting a lot of success because they followed, I would say, in many ways the tradition set by older thrash metal bands like Megadeth, Metallica, Slayer, you know, the classics, Testament, Anthrax. Whereas I believe Vektor said, okay, we love those guys, but we want to take a step further. We want to go further. We want to do something a little bit different. And although they didn't create blackened thrash, they weren't the pioneers of blackened thrash, I believe they are one of the best ones to do it. And if you're willing to give a more extreme side of heavy metal a chance and go through this album and see what it's all about, I feel like you're gonna find a real gem for yourself here, especially people who are on this channel who are into Ginger, if you're into, even I would say, Insomnium in some ways, or if you're just into more thrashy death metal, black metal side of heavy metal, you will really enjoy this. I believe so. You will really enjoy it because it has a lot to offer as an album. I'm not gonna break down each song and tell you how amazing it is. I don't want to ruin anything. I would literally want you kind of to go through it, see what you think of it, see how you feel about it. It took me, I remember the first couple times to listen to their second full album. It took me a couple times to get into it, and as I've gotten into their albums and into their music and into their discography, this is the album that stood out the most to me because it was just fine-tuned to perfection and is extremely raw, extremely powerful. It's not overly produced. It has the rawness of 80s heavy metal bands, if you know what I mean. I feel like a lot of bands nowadays have become a lot more technically proficient, and in many ways their songwriting even become better. But a lot of bands nowadays have lost some of the rawness in their music, and bands like Vektor, or even like the ones I mentioned before, Warbringer, Power Trip, they were able to maintain that rawness in their music, and I absolutely appreciate that about Vektor. And now that they've reformed, actually recently, I believe in 2017, they're working on new material for a new band. I'm really excited, and I thought it's time to give these guys a little bit more light, even if it's just 10 people who watch this video, I think it's that time where I should give them a little bit more light, because I totally think they deserve it. But I would like to know from you guys, if you know Vektor, or if you've never listened to him and gave him a chance because this channel, what you think of them. Let people know down below if you're a fan of Vektor or if you enjoyed this kind of music. And if you didn't, I would like to hear your point of view as well. I mean, let's have a conversation. That's what it's all about. That's why we do this on this channel, so we can have a community together to talk about our favorite genre of music, heavy metal. Thanks guys, thank you for tuning in and checking it out. I'm going to leave the link down below for the album so you can check it out yourself, and hopefully you will enjoy it as much as I did. Keep it metal out there and enjoy the rest of your day.